Hey y'all, Fred here. Thanks so much for joining me. I was doing actually a little research on Temu, and I'm seeing a bunch of crazy stuff. And I thought, well, everybody always loves a good Temu shopping video. And now, having done this for quite a while and gotten a variety of these knives, I thought I would share a quick little video in case you're doing some Temu shopping. I'm actually impressed. I didn't realize this many of these knives were on local now, which means you get them very quickly. You don't have to deal with any tariff issues, and there's still a lot of them at really good prices. However, there's also a lot that are really bad prices, and that's one of the things I wanted to really kind of point out or maybe highlight. I was doing a search, in case you're looking at my search bar here. I was trying to find this knife that John sent me, which is like an assisted spring action out the side knife here. You'll see that in a review, or maybe you already have, depends on when I run these videos. But then I got to looking at this Kizer Bulldog for $58, and I thought, well, that's not really a particularly great deal. I'm going to go see what they cost for real. And you can get a Bulldog in Nitro V for $65. And then I also looked at them, and this is really the one they're selling, is 154 CM for $69. And it got me to now just thinking, now I'm going down rabbit trails here. Which steel would I rather have, 154 versus Nitro V? So I went and pulled out the old Knife Steel Nerds charts that I have done. I did a couple of videos on comparing all these, particularly the budget end of knife steel. So I just created my own little mini tables of each one of the steels. Goes all the way up through. I actually have a bigger version of this table with even more steel on it, but it has Nitro V and 154 CM conveniently stacked over top of each other. So that leads me to my first question, which is, would you rather have a Nitro V or a 154 CM? And I think for me, the answer is going to be 154 CM. The big difference being the middle number in all of these is edge retention, in case that's hard to read. On the left number is toughness, and the right side is corrosion. So they both have the exact same corrosion resistance. 154 CM is actually very low on the toughness scale. Now, it's equivalent to D2 or 9CR18 in terms of toughness, but that's not particularly tough. Those are some of the lowest scores out of all the steels, right, in terms of toughness. So it depends on what you're going to use it for. How likely are you to be prying staples or chopping wood or doing anything that might cause you to kind of chip or bend that blade? I'm really more concerned with edge retention, and there's probably a very noticeable difference between 154 CM and at 4.5 and the Nitro V at 3. So to me, that's what I want, is the 154 CM. So now, if I'm going to get that, now I'm looking at $69 compared to $58, which is really $59. So here's the question, and I'd love to hear y'all's comments down below on this. $10 difference on a knife. Would you be willing to take the chance and save $10 to buy it off of Temu, which doesn't show the brand? Yeah, they've kind of washed out the brand here. You can see somebody's photoshopped it partially to erase most of the Kizer brand. So what that tells me is this is a Kizer branded knife. It'll probably come in a genuine Kizer branded box and everything. But there's the question, is it a real Kizer knife? I mean, we know that Kizer's making these knives in China anyhow. So, like, what's the difference? Is it? Do you think they're really making them in two different factories in China? Like you have the official Kizer factory making a bunch, and then somewhere down the road, because all knives are made like in one city basically in China. And so, like, somewhere down the road, there's another knife shop that's also making these Kizers? Or is it just the case that they're all made at the same place, and then some are somehow siphoned off to be sold very cheaply or $10 cheaper on Temu? So would you save the $10 and buy it through Temu, not ever being totally sure of whether you're getting the real thing or not, or do you spend the extra $10 and buy it straight from Kizer? And I hadn't even looked on Amazon. I guess we could go to Amazon, and that would be a good Kizer Bulldog knife. Let's see. All right, sorry for the pause there, or the maybe jump cut in the video. My internet decided to crap out on me in the middle of my video here. So I wanted just to jump over to Amazon and see what Amazon is charging for this same knife. And it looks like they are charging the same price that Kizer is directly. So no particularly great deal there unless you're getting it on a sale. Sometimes Amazon runs sales on stuff. So back to the original question at hand, would you risk it and save $10 to buy it on Temu, knowing that you're going to get a Kizer branded knife, but never quite positive 100% whether this is an authentic one or not? Again, the question is, how many Chinese factories are really likely to be making Kizer knives? And so, what's the likelihood in this situation this is probably a genuine, real deal? And for what it's worth, I have gotten real products on Temu at discounted prices, although I don't think I've ever gotten a real knife at discounted. But I mean, $58 is not exactly a cheap Temu knife either. So interesting question, y'all. Let me know what you think down in the comments. But let's go back to some browsing because there's also some really still interesting choices. So if you want a Microtech stitch, these are going to be, I think this is the Stitch A. I think these are both the Stitch A's. These are the automatic ones. Because he's going to turn it over. There's the button. So these are if you want an automatic stitch, you can get one for less than $20. These little, it's not Strider, these are the Microtech versions of those Strider knives. $23. Kershaw Iridium, John's got one of those. I think this is the 𝗶𝗶𝗃. I always get these confused with a couple that Spyderco 𝗶𝗶𝗃, I think it is. Microtech LUDT for $28. You can get those, definitely a better price. This one's left the button on it on that one. Benchmade $24. This one's interesting. Where did I see there was some? Like right here. I'm starting to see some of these. So this is the 𝗀 from 𝗀, right? $127, really, for S35VN. So maybe this is the real deal and they're just trying to sell it through here genuinely, right? I don't know that they're probably selling too many of these at $126. That was my concern, is what I was looking at is some of these are really high priced. Like this new BM593 at $45, $46. I don't know about that. I'm not sure I'd be willing to pay that price on Temu. It's just, that's my point is I'm starting to see some of these listings that have just gotten really beyond ridiculous in terms of really high prices. Man, I guess it was on a different window maybe, because all these are pretty cheap. Looks like a little pair of 3 there. 𝗪𝗪𝗀, I'm going to guess. This is the 𝗪𝗪𝗀, I think, not the jumbo. The old Benchmade, this was the 710, I think, $22. There are a lot to be had. PM2 is a C81. Kershaw Iridium, John sent me one of these I'm reviewing. Not bad, actually. The problem with this and with his is that it doesn't have a captive pivot, and the other side of the pivot is a flat. There's no screw head in it. So it's one of those that it's just going to free spin on that pivot, and they gunked it up, man. I don't know what they put in there. It was like glue. I had the hardest time getting the pivot off of this knife, and it was loose, and it was off-centered. So, I was trying to fix it up and clean it up a little for John. It took me a while to figure that out. I had to wedge a little mini screwdriver into the top of between the blade and the handle on one side to really kind of wedge something tight in there. That would basically essentially pulling apart the scales a little bit, which would put extra pressure to hold that other free spinning side down. And it worked eventually, although it took a bit of, back and forth kind of stuff before the Loctite, whatever they used, broke free. And then I got inside, it was all gunked up with like gooey stuff. So I don't know if they just used a lousy version of some kind of Loctite or almost like a lubricant, but it was really gooey. Anyhow, the other thing I want to point out, I see a lot of these days. So they're doing these. I thought about collecting these, and I halfway wish I should, but then it's, I don't have enough money to really blow on all of these dessert-themed knives. But here's the Kershaw Iridium in a dessert-themed knife. And if you get into these and start clicking on a few, they're going to show you godly amounts of these in all different knife styles and shapes, some which may have not ever been made. I haven't actually looked it up. Maybe one of y'all will know. I don't know if the 𝗪𝗃 iridium was ever made in a Desert Warrior theme, or if this is just, the old Chinese getting a little creative with themselves. Oh man, I guess I'm not going to see it here. One of the things, I may pause and see if I can go find it. I was looking at a bunch of knives that people, they're trying to charge like this kind. Oh, this is another one of those 𝗧knives. So I'm wondering if this is like the real 𝗧knife company that is trying to sell these things. Let's see. This is a Nitro V, PVD coated Nitro V 3.5 inch for $83. Is that something y'all would be interested in buying at that price from Temu? Not sure. Not me. I can tell you that for sure. Here's an 𝗧knife rubato for $49. So this is what, 154 cm, so cheaper steel. Here's some of these knives, by the way. I've had a bunch of people come back on my videos. I did these videos on these, the brothers, it starts with a T, and the name escapes me right now. T1 Heavy Duty is kind of the model name of this thing. Here's a Kizer. Look, this is that. Oh, no, that's a different. That's the, yeah. Can't think of that name either. I probably shouldn't do videos when my brain isn't working. I can't think of the names of any of these knives. Anyhow, what I was trying to say is there's a whole bunch of these that are still floating around out there. They're still up in that range, but I have seen some below $100, barely, like 96, 97 bucks. But if you're into these big knives, I'm going to tell you, that was a really shockingly well-made knife in real titanium. I actually took a grinder to the inside of my scales and the back spacer because I couldn't believe how thick, chunky titanium scales and the back spacers. I couldn't believe that would be real titanium, and yes sir, it actually was. Kizer, I think, is selling their real knives on here, so their prices are more in line, a little closer. It's not the Bulldog, Sheepdog, that's the name I'm trying to see. But are you going to pay 133 bucks for a Kizer Sheepdog here? Fat Carbon S35VN, I mean, I guess in the real knife world, lots of people would pay 133 bucks if they could, be assured this was a genuine Fat Carbon S35VN. I mean, in the real world of knives, that's not really that bad of a price for the real thing. We could probably go check Kizer's site and see. I guess I'm not seeing them right now. 𝗧knife is really making a big push. Here's another one for 55 bucks. I'm going to have to pause and see. Here's another 𝗧knife for 63 bucks. I'm curious. They must be selling, or at least they're trying. Here's a Hinderer XM18 D2 steel aluminum alloy handle. So that's an important thing to note. A lot of people make the mistake of assuming this is going to be titanium because basically everywhere else it's titanium, and it's not once you get there. Aluminum, but they were at least kind enough in that listing to say this is aluminum. This is one of those T1 knockoffs. This is not the same thing. That's why it's 10 bucks instead of 110 bucks. Here's another one, aluminum alloy. So I guess these are coming out now, all these XM18s with aluminum alloys. I'm going to pause and see another rubato from 𝗧knife for $67. My point, I guess what I was trying to get to was that there's a Kizer Cormorant that I've seen some of these like replica knockoff knives now on here that are trying to charge people outrageous amounts of money, 50 to 100 bucks for a knife that you can buy anywhere else here on this site in lots of them for under 20 bucks. And all of a sudden I'll run across like this here, the pterosaur. That's, I got one of their knives in K110. It was one of the best performing petrified fish, I think. I think that's what that is. I could be wrong. Maybe y'all let me know. I'm sure y'all will let me know in the comments. But I guess I'll leave it at this. My point is that there are still a lot of good knives, particularly replica knives, that are available on Temu for really cheap money. There's a Damascus steel bug out, right? Is that the mini bug out? It doesn't say what model number it is. I guess we have to look at it. Oh, it's 7.5 inch. So no, that's a full size bug out. That's not the mini. So that's not a bad deal if you want a little Damascus knife to play with. Here's another one of those T1s, $119. So that's $10 cheaper than the other. Now they're selling bug outs in pairs by two for $21. These small 𝗧𝗲𝗃𝗀s have been around forever. This is the stainless steel handle. That is not the titanium. I gave one of those away. Here's another one of these. Maybe that's the same one. Nope, that's same knife, different listing, 119. This one is 114. So you just keep looking down the list and you'll keep finding them cheaper and cheaper. That's the whole point of all of this. Now it's up to 127. You have to shop around because there are some crazy people who are going to try to take advantage of you. Like this knife here for $61. Now it says it is 3.38 inch. It's a pretty good sized blade. 14C28N with micarta handle. 𝗪𝗏𝘃𝗧. 𝗪𝗏𝘃𝗧. $170 right here. So this is kind of an example of what I was trying to say is the knife that you can find for, under $100 all over the place, or even we've seen 3 or 4 now on the page for under $130. Now this guy thinks he's going to sell it for $170. So that's just my word of warning is that, one, there's a ton of knives available on Temu. And, I wouldn't mind taking a risk on a lower end, under $25. You're going to get what you pay for. And my experience is these are not typically as good a quality as even OK Knives is. OK Knives tends to at least choose the best versions of these knives. But that's not to say you can't get a pretty cool little fun, almost a throwaway disposable knife. Look at these guys Photoshop not only all the brand and all the stuff on the box, they Photoshopped the Spidey hole right out of that knife. So still lots of stuff to be had. Here's that steel knife. We gave one of these away. John sent it in for us to give away. Just be careful about prices, right? Because you'll find knives like this, and this guy thinks he wants to get $37 for it. But if you just scroll up the page a little bit, you're going to see these all over the place for $25, right? So don't buy the first thing. If you're going to shop Temu, make sure you shop Temu. And the secret, it's impossible to share or get back to any links. If I click on this, I'll go ahead and click on it. And then look around a little bit, maybe scroll down to the bottom here. I will begin seeing more and more and more of these exact knives in my feed, right? That's the way you get more of them, is to click on the kind of knives and stuff you want. And whatever you end up clicking on, obviously you can see the kind of stuff that your buddy Fred clicks on a lot. Knives, flashlights, and, pew-pew tools. So that's me. That's what I'm looking at here on Temu. You can pretty much see that. Lots of good stuff to be had, and some interesting deals. I always wonder about these, like it's 1.2 to 6 from 𝗪𝗁𝘁, but like these got returned to 0. It's just a question of what kind of glass is in there. I will tell you this. These sunglasses are pretty darn good. I've bought these twice now because I end up giving them away. Like my kids and my friends are like, man, those are awesome sunglasses. These are genuinely polarized sunglasses. You can get 3 pair for $6. And I think if you click on it, you can choose. Well, this one only has 2 different sets, but they have different colors options. I like these, the bright and fancy ones. I bought 2 pairs of these now. They are a little bit like almost textured on the front. Looks kind of carbon fibery. These are pretty good little sunglasses, especially for stuff that, you're out at the lake. I took these down to the beach and I actually lost my orange pair in the waves. Didn't even care about it because they cost me like $3, right? Or $2.50, less than $2.50. So it's a disposable pair of sunglasses, but I'm going to tell you what, they're pretty darn good, actually. I've been, like I said, I bought them twice because I was pleasantly surprised. Here's a great little flashlight. We've all seen these. Let me show you, I guess, what's in my box here. $11.68 for one of these. So we have all seen these. This is very similar with the double tail switch on them. I don't know how genuinely bright they are, but I've had a pretty good experience with all the flashlights I bought off of here. And this is a great EDC flashlight. So you not only get the front light that is nice, you're getting a black light and a red light, both of which are good. Red light is good at night if you need to see something like in your car on a floorboard and you don't want to lose your night vision. I happen to live, in North Carolina. We have tons of rubies and sapphire mines around here. My wife's a big fan of all that. And one of the ways you identify them is using a black light like this. If you live, out in the Southwest, you can hunt for scorpions using this. Although this is not going to be very strong. You have to put it up kind of close to stuff. But as far as like the stiletto type of flashlights, it's not going to be the world's greatest pocket clip. But y'all, we're talking $11.68. Are you kidding me? That's virtually disposable. If I get a good year of use out of it, fantastic. And they got pretty good reviews. You can see all that. Anyhow, I thought I would point that out too, because you can see all the stuff that I keep in my cart. Here's a cool little nightstand with a built-in safe, like a little gun safe drawer that has one of those. Hell, let's just show you. Why not? It has one of these like special magnet things that you have to slide a magnet over the side over here on the side of this underneath deck. You put a little magnet device in it. That's what triggers the drawer to unlock. Otherwise, there's no way to get into it. Now, of course, somebody could just easily probably yank it open. But as far as like keeping kids or little children, fortunately, I don't have at this moment. It would at least keep kids and, it will keep honest people honest, and it would keep kids away from anything dangerous. And plus, to me, these look pretty darn cool. A little more on the expensive side, but hell, go try to find one of these in the real world for anywhere near $100. I would challenge you. Anyhow, there you go. You can see I put in lots of scopes and some different bipods and flashlights and some knives and some hunting gear stuff. There you go. You just got a whole insight into Fred's Temu shopping cart. Anyhow, lots of still good stuff here. Very cheap, affordable replicas, and some of these are actually pretty good. I'm going to tell you, probably most of these, if you shop wisely, we know there's a ton of crap that you can get here, right? Just total garbage you won't want. But most of us are smart enough now to be able to kind of look at these listings and make a decision. So here's that same MSI basically for $29. Is that what this was? No, this is not the MSI. This is the other amphibian. I think it's an amphibian. So it is a different model, but I'm pretty sure you can get those cheaper anyhow. Anyhow, I'm going to stop here because this video has gotten plenty long, but hopefully it's been a little fun trip down Fred's shopping cart on Temu, and to see some of the stuff that I see. The biggest thing I hear is that I can't ever find any of these same knives on Temu, and that's true. Even when somebody else gives me a knife to go find on Temu, I can't find it either. Everybody gets totally unique results. But you can see my feed is pretty darn full of knife stuff, and there's a pretty wide selection still available just because they're not shipping them from China, which is even better, because to me, you'll pay an extra $3 unless you're buying over $30 worth, but you're getting it within a week or so usually from all these local vendors. So still lots of fun to be had out here. Just make sure you do your shopping and don't get taken advantage of, because some people are trying to charge a heck of a lot of money for knives that are being sold a heck of a lot cheaper. Here's that amphibian for $32, so that one's $5 cheaper. Keep shopping around, you'll find it. Let me know, would you buy that Kizer Bulldog for $10 cheaper, or buy the real thing from Amazon or Kizer? Appreciate y'all. As always, subscribe if you want. Love to have you. Throw me a thumbs up if you're still here. That would really help me out. Thanks a bunch. I'll talk to y'all soon. See ya.